Let's get real for a moment. Most men hear the words a woman says, but very few know how to hear the message she's actually communicating. A woman can speak softly while her silence tells the truth. She can give you a clean explanation while her eyes reveal everything she isn't willing to say. Her timing, her pauses, her tone, those are the real sentences. And if you can't read that contrast, you'll spend years believing women are mysterious. When the patterns are so consistent, they might as well be written in neon. You're not lost. You're simply decoding the wrong language. And let's be clear, this isn't about blaming women or framing relationships like war. This is about awareness, the kind men were never taught to develop. The moment you understand the emotional engine that powers the words women use, all confusion dissolves. You stop falling for mixed signals. You stop waiting for clarity that isn't coming. You stop living in hope and start living with a spine. Because when a man finally sees the truth beneath the surface, he stops chasing illusions and starts acting with purpose. Before we step into the first lie, do one thing. Hit the like button, subscribe, and help build a generation of men who understand themselves, know their value, and refuse to be blind to emotional reality. All right, let's begin with the first one, the line every man hears at least once. Lie number 1, I'm not looking for anything serious. When a woman tells you she's not looking for anything serious, it sounds casual, harmless, even respectful. It makes you think she's being transparent, clearing the air, keeping things light so no one gets hurt. But the truth behind that line is far sharper than it appears. What she's really saying is this: I don't want anything serious with you. Not with your personality, not with your energy, not with the version of yourself she's experiencing right now. She's not describing her life situation. She's describing her level of desire. Women don't avoid commitment when they meet a man who activates them emotionally. They avoid commitment when the connection isn't strong enough for them to risk vulnerability. When she meets a man she truly wants, she doesn't fear seriousness. She gravitates toward it. She doesn't create distance. She closes it. She doesn't slow things down. She accelerates them. A woman will rearrange her entire schedule for a man who excites her in the right way, and she'll slow to a crawl when she's trying to keep a man emotionally at arm's length. So why does she soften the rejection? Because she's protecting her self-image. She wants to seem kind, thoughtful, overwhelmed, busy, anything except uninterested. Women are socially taught to disguise rejection so it lands softly. They don't want to bruise your ego or spark confrontation, so they package disinterest inside a statement that sounds neutral instead of personal. But make no mistake, the message is personal. When a woman says she doesn't want something serious, she's preserving her options for the man who does make her feel something serious. She's keeping emotional space open for the one who has already captured her imagination. She's creating distance not out of caution, but out of clarity. She doesn't see a future worth investing in with you. And if you stay, you won't become her man. You'll become her emotional filler, the comfortable presence she uses until someone she truly desires arrives. Many men hear this line and think patience will change her mind. It won't. Commitment isn't a timing issue. It's a chemistry issue. Attraction doesn't need time. It needs intensity. And if you were the man she felt that intensity with, she wouldn't be telling you she wants things casual. She'd be trying not to lose you. Your job is simple. Hear the truth inside the softness. Don't negotiate with subtext. Don't wait for a future she's already excluded you from. Protect your time, protect your energy, and protect your dignity. Because the moment a man accepts a minimized role, he teaches a woman exactly how little she needs to invest to keep him around. Lie 2. I don't usually do this, but with you, it's different. This line is engineered with precision. It taps straight into a man's ego, into the part of him that wants to feel chosen, rare, exceptional. She isn't just flirting. You're being guided into a narrative where you believe you're unlocking something sacred, something she supposedly kept hidden from the rest of the world. But understand what's really happening underneath that softness. When someone has to announce their innocence, it's almost never innocence they're protecting. It's their image. Women understand male psychology better than the majority of men understand their own. They know men judge differently. They know men feel validated when they believe they're accessing a side of her reserved only for the right man. So she frames her choices in purity. She wraps her actions in novelty. She paints you as the exception so you lower your guard, relax your standards, and step deeper into emotional territory she hasn't fully earned. The truth is simple. If she's doing it with you, it isn't the first time. Maybe the details are different. Maybe the context is new, but the emotional rhythm is familiar. This line isn't about morality. It's about reputation. It's about shaping how you see her before her actual behavior has a chance to reveal the truth. She's not trying to deceive you maliciously. She's trying to manage how she appears. She wants you to see her as someone good, even when her choices contradict that image. Many men fall into the trap of thinking they've inspired something special in her, that they've awakened a unique spark that changed her usual behavior. But like Jung said, people repeat their patterns. They just wear different disguises each time. She's not stepping out of her comfort zone because of you. She's replaying a familiar emotional script and inviting you to believe it's brand new. If a woman truly doesn't usually do something, she won't be doing it. No disclaimers, no speeches, no branding. Genuine rarity doesn't need a label. It shows up without introduction. The moment she tells you she's the exception, pay attention. She's shaping your perception so you don't question her choices. She's offering a polished storyline so you never ask about the unpolished version she doesn't want you to see. So don't get hypnotized by the flattery. Don't mistake performance for depth. Don't confuse presentation for character. You're not witnessing a rare moment. You're witnessing a rehearsed one. And the men who understand this move forward with clarity instead of falling into emotional fantasy. Lie number 3. I don't like money. Men hear this and instantly feel relief, as if they've finally met someone unbothered by status, lifestyle, or financial security. It sounds humble. It sounds pure. It sounds like she values the man, not the material. But beneath that softness lies a truth men rarely catch. When a woman says she doesn't care about money, she isn't rejecting the idea of stability. She's rejecting men who obsess over money to compensate for the emptiness in their character. What she's really communicating is this: I want a man whose sense of direction is stronger than his desire to show off. Money to her is not luxury. It's leadership. It's movement. It's evidence that the man she's with isn't drifting through life hoping things will magically work out. Even the most artistic, spiritual, free-flowing woman feels safer around a man who can handle pressure, who can think ahead, who can turn chaos into order. Financial stability isn't greed. It's emotional security. It's a signal that the man she's choosing isn't one crisis away from collapsing. Human instincts haven't changed. Long before society existed, women needed to sense which man could protect, build, and provide safety. As Nietzsche said, our instincts are older than our thoughts. Women aren't consciously calculating bank accounts. They're responding to what money represents: structure, competence, and self-governance. She needs to know that the man beside her can steer the ship when the water gets rough. So when she says she doesn't like money, don't translate that into stay where you are and never evolve. She may support you during a rebuilding phase, but not if you emotionally surrender to it. Women aren't drawn to men who have everything. They're drawn to men who are capable of creating more. They fall for the man who carries the quiet confidence of someone who can attract opportunities, not the man who waits for someone else to hand them to him. The truth is simple. Women don't fall in love with money. They fall in love with the man who moves like he can generate it, because that man radiates self-respect, vision, and the discipline required to build something meaningful. So don't mistake her simplicity for acceptance of stagnation. She's not asking for wealth. She's asking for progress. She's asking for momentum. She's asking for a man whose life has direction, even if he's starting from zero. When you hear "I don't like money," don't treat it as permission to remain the same. Treat it as a reminder that stability, leadership, and ambition will always be attractive. Not because of materialism, but because of the emotional safety they represent. Lie 4. I want a nice guy. This line traps more men than almost any other because they interpret it literally. They think a woman wants gentleness, softness, constant agreement, zero friction. They think being endlessly accommodating will earn them loyalty. But when a woman says she wants a nice guy, she isn't asking for a man who sacrifices himself to keep her comfortable. She's asking for a man who carries warmth without surrendering his spine. To her, nice means a man who can soothe her emotions without being controlled by them. A man who respects her feelings without letting those feelings dictate his identity. Women don't fall for men who treat them like royalty before they've earned intimacy. They fall for men who treat themselves like royalty first. A man who values himself creates a natural field of respect around him. He doesn't bend under pressure. He doesn't shrink during conflict. He doesn't soften his standards just to maintain harmony. Women are drawn to that mixture of kindness and authority, the combination of a steady heart and an unmovable backbone. Most men hear nice and assume it means harmless, but harmless men aren't attractive. They're forgettable. A woman doesn't emotionally invest in a man who dissolves the moment she pushes against him. She needs to feel that if she challenges him, intentionally or instinctively, he won't collapse. She tests not to manipulate, but to measure the strength of his character, to see if his kindness comes from confidence or from fear. When he over-explains, over-apologizes, or tries to win approval through constant generosity, she stops feeling the polarity that creates desire. She stops feeling protected. She stops feeling tension. And without tension, attraction dies. The truth is simple. The men women fall hardest for are rarely the men they describe with words. They are the men who embody the energy their instincts respond to. Nice in her language means solid, respectful, emotionally attuned, but not impressionable. It means strong enough to care, but strong enough to walk away. It means warm, but never weak. The man who understands this doesn't chase. He doesn't audition. He doesn't overgive. He lives by standards, speaks with clarity, and treats himself with enough value that she naturally rises to meet him. Women don't follow the man who tries to please them. They follow the man who leads himself. Lie 5. My ex means nothing to me. Men hear this and instantly relax, believing they're stepping into a clean slate. They assume the past is sealed, the emotions are gone, and they're dealing with someone fully present. But human emotions don't evaporate just because someone announces they're finished. Emotional residue doesn't disappear through declaration. It lingers in patterns, in reactions, in the way certain topics make her voice shift. When she tells you her ex means nothing, she might not be lying to you. She might be lying to herself. Denial is one of the mind's favorite coping mechanisms, especially when acknowledging the truth feels vulnerable or embarrassing. Women don't always miss the man. They miss the identity they had in that relationship. They miss the attention, the validation, the emotional influence, the version of themselves that felt desired or powerful. That's why so many revisit an ex's page late at night. Not because they want to return, but because they want to confirm they're still remembered. It's emotional checking, not emotional closure. And here's the detail most men overlook. If he truly meant nothing, there wouldn't be a reason to bring him up at all. People rarely talk about what's irrelevant. They talk about what still touches a nerve. Sometimes she's not revisiting him. She's revisiting the version of herself that he broke. That wound becomes a filter you will deal with. Her triggers, her fears, her emotional reflexes. Those are shaped by what she hasn't fully processed. And the danger for you is simple. Unresolved emotions always demand a role. If she hasn't healed, you won't be her partner. You'll become her emotional rehabilitation. You'll spend your time proving you're better than the last man, soothing insecurities you didn't cause, carrying emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. And here's the painful irony. Once she finally heals, she may not stay with the one who helped her heal. The person who repairs the damage is rarely the person who benefits from the repair. It's not intentional, but it happens constantly. So instead of challenging her or demanding details when she says her ex doesn't matter, pay attention to what shows up unfiltered. Notice how she reacts when his name comes up, how she speaks about him, how quickly her emotions change. Patterns are more honest than statements. As Adler said, trust only movement, meaning look at what she does, not what she insists she feels. Healing isn't measured by what she claims. It's measured by what no longer controls her. Lie 6. I just want a man who loves me for who I am. On the surface, this sounds tender, honest, vulnerable, almost poetic. It feels like she's opening her heart and asking for something pure. But beneath that softness often lies a truth men overlook. Not every woman who says this is asking for love. Some are asking for freedom from accountability. Some are asking to be emotionally comforted while avoiding the work required to become better. Many men confuse this line with depth, so they begin tolerating behaviors they shouldn't, absorbing emotional weight they didn't create, excusing patterns that drain them, and calling it loyalty. They think accepting everything she brings, without question, is romantic. But unconditional love does not mean unconditional self-abandonment. It does not mean ignoring the parts of her that are destructive, inconsistent, or emotionally immature. When a woman repeatedly emphasizes, "Love me as I am," pay attention to the timing. Does she say it when you establish a boundary? When you point out a recurring pattern? When you express discomfort or try to improve the relationship? Because if so, what she's really communicating isn't love. It's resistance. She's shielding her flaws behind emotional language. She's framing growth as criticism. She's using vulnerability as armor. A woman who is growing, healing, and self-aware will never fear accountability. She won't collapse when you express a standard. She won't guilt-trip you for asking for balance. She understands that love is a two-way street where both people evolve, adjust, and improve. A healthy partner says, "Love me while I grow, and I'll grow with you." But the unhealthy version uses this line to secure comfort without contribution. She wants acceptance without reflection, closeness without effort, reassurance without reciprocity. And that dynamic slowly destroys a man's masculine spirit. You become the cushion she lands on every time life pressures her. You become the emotional sponge, the repair tool, the man who tries to hold the relationship together while she refuses to meet you halfway. The truth is simple. A relationship that requires you to shrink so it can survive is not a relationship. It's a slow erosion of who you are. As Alain de Botton said, love begins the moment we admit we're not perfect. Growth is a requirement, not an insult. So when she says she wants to be loved for who she is, don't react to the softness of the words. Watch whether her actions show a willingness to grow. If she's evolving, she means it. If she's avoiding, she's using it. Lie number 7. I'm not like other girls. At first glance, it sounds playful, flattering, maybe even sincere. But behind that sentence is one of the most strategic emotional shortcuts a woman can use. This line isn't a description. It's an introduction meant to bypass your natural caution. She knows men crave rarity. She knows men want to believe they've finally found someone who stands out in a world full of repetition. So she brands herself as different before her behavior has the chance to reveal who she actually is. The truth is simple. A woman who is genuinely uncommon will never have to announce her uniqueness. People who truly stand apart don't rely on slogans. They rely on actions. The moment she says she's not like the rest, she's revealing something far more honest than she intends. She fears being seen as average. She fears being judged by the same standards she uses to judge other women. She fears you discovering that the patterns she criticizes in others might be living quietly inside her too. Sometimes, "I'm not like other girls" really means, I know exactly what men want to hear, and I'm giving it to you before you notice the similarities. It's pre-framing. It's reputation management. It's an attempt to control your perception before reality steps in. And here's where many men fall. They disconnect their critical thinking the moment she claims rarity. They stop observing. They stop evaluating. They stop noticing the small inconsistencies that would normally concern them. That's the psychological trap. Women who rely on this line often behave exactly like the women they claim to be nothing like, just with a quieter tone, a softer method, or a more refined presentation. It's not the character that's different. It's the marketing. The packaging looks rare, but the patterns underneath are identical. A woman who is truly rare doesn't need to compare herself to anyone. You'll see it in her emotional discipline, in her consistency, in her loyalty, in her honesty, in how she handles conflict, in how she speaks about people who aren't present, in the way her actions align with her words. She doesn't need a tagline because her behavior speaks with clarity. So when a woman tells you she's not like other girls, don't let the phrase blind you. Step back, observe. Let her patterns, not her promises, reveal who she is. If her actions match the identity she's selling, you'll see it without her needing to say a word. And if they don't, you're not dealing with a unique woman. You're dealing with someone who knows how to imitate uniqueness. Women aren't the enemy, but their words can blind any man who doesn't know how to read the emotional truth underneath. The men who thrive aren't the ones who argue or chase clarity. They're the ones who observe, understand patterns, and choose with intention. If what you heard today opened your eyes, drop a comment, share your experience, and hit subscribe. Stay close, because the men who rise in this world are the ones who see beyond the surface. And here, we make sure you never walk blind again.